So your confidence was sort of contagious
Yes.
in the community.
Yes.
Well, how did you handle an animal, let's say, that comes in with an illness, a treatable illness, but you have this small facility and only a certain number of people? How do you handle an animal that needs a lot of attention?
Well, we treated it if it had something that was treatable. Even though we had room for about 70 cats and we had 24 kennel runs for dogs. But there were times during the summer when kitten season hit that we had litters of kittens and orphaned litters. We would call our conference room into service. We would set up temporary housing for, for families, for little feline families, and even during board meetings, we would be, caring for the animals. We just did whatever it took.
Did you ever bring the community in on that?
Always. We quickly learned that we were not going to be successful without involving the community as volunteers. We developed our foster program, we developed our volunteer program. Those things were critical in helping us help those animals along that needed it.
So did you ever use fosters to deal with a treatable animal or a behavior
all the time
issue?
Yes.
Because the foster has more time to devote to one or two animals than you do in a facility with a whole lot of animals in one place.
Yes, and also, some animals just couldn't handle the stress of being in a kennel situation. Lots of dogs and cats, well, mostly dogs. Lots of dogs do fine, but some dogs really need help. They're a little shy, or they're just a bit traumatized at losing their home, and they really need that little something extra. And our foster families really helped them come out of their shell. They didn't have to stay in the relatively harsh kennel environment, and they were also able to go out on adoption events, and their foster families, helped them through losing their home possibly, and transitioning into a new home. And foster families were critical for our cats.
Kind of expands the amount of time and space that you have available to shelter animals.
Exactly. And also what was very critical that our volunteers helped us with was our off-site adoption events. Our off-site adoption events weren't, it wasn't, we had to have them. They weren't something that we could put to the side. Because if you're going to save lives and you're going to not put down animals for space, then you have to get them adopted. That's where our volunteer staff was critical.
Did you have any programs in place to keep animals from coming into the shelter in the first place?
Yes.
What sort of things did you do?
Well, we instituted obedience training for dogs. And
that's one of the main reasons why dogs are relinquished, isn't it?
Yes.
Because of behavior problems.
Yes, and it's usually not something that is dangerous, or it's usually something annoying. Sometimes it's as simple as housebreaking, or something that can be easily corrected. We also had what was called Pet Care 101, where anybody from the community, we had 1 hour a week set aside. Anybody could just drop in dog questions, cat questions, and just ask us. We usually had a trainer there, or we had somebody who was very knowledgeable about dog and cat behavior. You could come in and ask any time. And again, that was another way that we allowed the shelter to be a community center for animals. We wanted everybody to come to us before they got up to here with their pet, and we would be able to help them. I was looking at the numbers last night, and we think at least 100 to 150 animals a year didn't come in because of behavior consults. and the obedience training.
So if a person came to the facility with an animal that they thought they wanted to relinquish, then what would you do?
Well,
You wouldn't just take the animal, would you?
of course, yes. I mean, we took all surrenders.
But did you do anything at that point to try to
Yes, we
solve
would
a
do.
problem?
We would try and do an intake interview, and try to find out exactly what the problem was, and try to offer help. You know, even at the moment that somebody had been convinced that this was the right thing to do. Most often, the animal did come to us, but there were times that the owner would take the animal back and give it another try with some information that we provided to them, and sometimes it worked. And you know, that time is worth it if you can keep just one pet out of the shelter.
Well, when you took an animal in because there was you couldn't do anything else, then did you have a time limit that you would hold the animal?
No. No, we didn't.
You just kept accumulating thousands and thousands of animals?
No, that's why our volunteer program was so important, and promoting adoptions was as important as anything else we did at the shelter. We worked pretty tirelessly with media outlets. We were constantly making contacts in the business community. We were on radio. We were doing whatever we could to get the Humane Society out there to let people know that we are a great place to come for adopting pets.
So you worked at least 5 days a week, 9 to 5, doing adoptions, right, at the kennel?
7 days a week.
7 days a week?
We were, yeah.
You were open 7 days?
Yes.
But not in the evening?
Yes.
7 days a week, including evenings?
Yes, because evenings are a very good time for people to come and adopt. They've got the kids home from school. We wanted everybody in the family to come and meet a potential adoption. So they even brought their dogs with them.
That doesn't happen too often at 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
Not as often as in the evenings. We were open on weekends, Sundays, most holidays.
I'm gathering that you looked at the times when people are available to go and do things like look for an adoptable pet, and
yes,
kind of aimed your open hours around that.
Yes, we did our walk-through study. We literally sat there with a counter and counted how many people came in throughout the course of the day, and found out when the most highly trafficked times were, and made sure we were open those hours.
Sounds good.
Now, how did you know that a person was adopting the proper animal?
We had, well, first of all, the adoption process usually took a large part of someone's day. We had something called Friends for Friends, which was an adoption matching program. It was modeled after the Meet Your Match that the ASPCA puts out. What we would do first is we would assess the animal to see if it was a quiet animal or a rambunctious animal, or we found out what the animal's personality was like first. And when the person came in to adopt, we would find out a little bit about their family life. You know, were they joggers? Were they couch potatoes? And we would try and match the personality of the family or the person with the personality of the pet. And we found that really helped.
Now, when you found a good match, then they would fill out an application, and it would take, what, 2 weeks to? No,
usually the same day or maybe the next day. Most of the animals that we had on the adoption floor that had gone through their stray hold and that sort of thing were either already spayed or neutered, especially with dogs. They were either already spayed or neutered, or when the adoption process was finalized, we had open appointments with area vets that we would transport the animal maybe the next day to the vet's office, and the new adopter could pick it up from the vet's office after the surgery occurred.